Under the scope.
Hey out there in Scopeland, Jared and Shane here for another Scope Summer movie review.
We're on the road this time.
On the road, we're together again at last. This time around, we are taking a look at the late summer film, The November Man. It is The November Man, correct, Jared?
It is correct. The November Man.
We are in the dog days of the summer movie schedule.
We're at the end of it.
Yeah, there is not much left. And Pierce Brosnan is going to take us out and bring us into fall, Jared.
That's his job.
The November Man is a spy thriller based...
You're really up high. I'm surprised by you. Go ahead.
Sorry. Based on a book, which I do not remember the title.
They flashed it at the end. I didn't catch the name of it.
I don't think it matters.
No.
My guess is this film is a tremendous departure from the book, because if it isn't, the book's a stinker.
Let us know how you really feel,
Jared, the stars Pierce Brosnan, and a bunch of other people I don't know.
A new guy named Luke Bracey as his young protege.
I'm going to say he's on the WB.
Sure. I don't recognize him from anything.
ABC Family.
It also stars Olga Kurylenko as the female lead.
We call her young Russian Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Sure. Why not?
Yes, thank you. And you got the guy from Falling Skies.
Yep, Will Patton as the CIA chief of bureau chief. I don't know. A guy in a desk in a suit.
Yep. And then you've got another guy
as much as he gets flushed out, as much as anyone gets flushed out. Go ahead.
And then you got the other CIA agent who is a character actor, which we've seen in many things, but I do not know his name.
Couldn't tell you his name.
Couldn't tell you, but he looks a little puffier and he's completely shaven head in this one, so you wouldn't necessarily recognize him.
Okay.
So as I said, this is a spy thriller film.
Yes.
And because Jared loves to do so, I'd love to hear him try to describe this plot, because it is a spy thriller convoluted megacity.
Well, we start in the past and we get a little flavor scene with Pierce Brosnan and his young protege.
Yep.
David Mason, I believe his name is.
Let's go with David Mason.
Pierce Brosnan's character's name is Peter Devereaux. Apparently they work for the CIA, I guess, and there is a scene where there's an assassination attempt on a ambassador, and young David is just too rash. He won't follow orders, and there ends up being civilian casualty. So we cut forward 5 years. Apparently Peter Devereaux has retired, but his old handler reaches out to him and says, hey, so-and-so has been working this angle in Russian against this Russian dude who is a politician who's running for president of Russia. But she needs to get out. She's got information. You're the only guy who can do it. And then apparently they cut to the CIA doing a similar operation, trying to get her out. And they don't know anything about him trying to get her out.
You're giving this way too much.
And then shots are fired, and people are dead, and everything goes to hell and sideways, and we're off. Yes. Peter Devereaux is off on a revenge mission, because that's what we really want, right?
Yeah.
That's all the plot I'm giving.
Yes, I mean, it turns into a big convoluted mess between shifting alliances, secrets, and boy oh boy.
Yeah, it's like who's on what side, who's on the up and up, and who's on the double cross.
Yeah, but here's the thing, it's
on the right of the street.
It's not as clever as it thinks it is.
Absolutely not.
It's pretty telegraphed overall. And when it isn't telegraphed, things just sort of come out of nowhere, so you wouldn't know anyway.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like for every clever turn it takes another two turns that are either cliched or not very well thought out. Yeah. So I'm not going to completely trash the film and say that it doesn't do anything interesting, because I think there's a couple things here and there that are fun and interesting and well done, but there's so much dreck and mishandlement here. That's a word, right? Mishandlement?
I'm going with it, yes.
Okay. It's a sloppy script. It's sloppily directed.
Yep.
The characters are paper thin. There's nothing there.
No.
Everyone sort of is what they are.
Yeah, they are who we thought they were, Jared. I've used that before, and I'll use it again. I mean, you've got a very charismatic lead with Pierce Brosnan. He's very likable. I went into this thinking, okay, this might be a small little interesting spy film that'll be a different take on James Bond.
He's generally likable, and he shows some more rough edges here that you don't generally see him.
But he's kind of an asshole in this film.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody in this movie sort of does assholey things. I mean,
there's really no one that you really end up liking.
No,
for the most part.
I mean, there's a lot of people dying, which almost senselessly.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they must have killed about 30 CIA agents, for instance. I mean, they just poop.
Well, they probably deserve to die because they're all terrible agents, because apparently in this film world, only 2 people are really, really super agents, and everyone else is the worst.
And they're
the worst ever.
They easily go down.
I mean, seriously, if you're going to be realistic about this, wouldn't there be other agents who are at least as good as these 2 and would put up a fight?
Yeah.
But they don't. It's these 2 against the world, and first they're against each other, and then they're for each other. Oh, I gave it away.
Yeah. No one's going to see this film.
I know.
Jared. This movie's going to do worse than Sin City would be my guess.
It's not going to do very well. It's going on a terrible weekend. Anyway.
I mean, we haven't even got into the absolute marginalization, is that a word?
Yes, that is a word.
Of women in this film. And listen.
Welcome to Jared and Shane try out new words and discover whether or not they're real.
Listen, I'm not Mr. PC.
Sure.
But when the women in this film are there to be damsels in distress, they're there to be sex objects, they're there to be
the butt of a sexist joke.
Yeah.
There's only one woman who kind of holds her own in this entire film, and that's the contract killer woman.
Yes, and she is.
But she's a robot,
and she's the Terminator.
Yeah,
and she's barely in it.
Not really a robot, but you know,
she acts like
pretty much.
And she's dispatched by another helpless woman with a shovel in the face because apparently a man couldn't kill her. I mean, seriously, they can kill children in this film.
It's very weird. Yes, it's very weird how sexes are portrayed and how they're played against each other, and I don't feel like there's any sort of guiding force in this film that has any sort of voice or any sort of tone that it's going for. It's just a mishmash of sort of spy thriller cliches all thrown in a blender and pureed until you end up with something that is formless and flavorless and boring.
Yeah, but we did find out why they call him the November Man.
We did. I almost had forgotten that the film was called that until he brought it up at the very end. I'm like, oh yeah, right. There we go. Seriously.
Yeah, this was...
Can we just, for 1 second, we talked about the sexism. There were a couple of very sexist jokes made, and they were made by the old guy who, oh gosh, he's never going to change. Yeah. This is how he treats women, blah, blah. But there was loud laughter in the audience at these jokes, and it just made me sad for who we are as a society now. That's all.
I mean, I was going to say, maybe these people don't see films. You know, maybe we're actually, when we went to see this film, we time warp back to 1990, where that sort of thing would be acceptable. But it's done unironically. You know, it just seems like this script was something that's been floating around Hollywood for 20 years, and now we're finally going to make it. I mean, that's
touched. It's felt like it was probably touched by a bunch of people punching it up here and there. It doesn't bring anything new to the spy genre. It's a completely, you know. I get points for getting your film project done and getting it on screen, but it's not a film that that needs to be seen. I feel sorry that Pierce Brosnan was wasted in this thing. Olga Kurylenko was fine in a few scenes, but overall her motivations were all over the place, and her emotional core was all over the place.
But you must give it a point for the magic computer scenes, where computers can do anything. Again, you type in a bunch of...
You know, magic tech. Me and magic tech, they go well together.
God, it was overbearing in this one too.
Again, more spy movie cliches, just mixed up with nothing new added to it.
What about Americans having a heavy presence, American CIA agents having a heavy presence in Moscow?
Sure.
Or Americans having drones flying around in Moscow and nobody really noticed.
The Americans are just running all over Eastern Europe with guns drawn,
people dead.
With impunity. I think this is a problem that we need to look into.
Maybe, though, Jared, maybe the future Russian president was allowing them to do that because...
Well, I think you're giving too much thought into this film.
Well,
I think this is a point A to point B film. There isn't any real interesting subplot. Yeah.
Well, how about we give it less thought and give it 1 score?
We should do that.
The Scope score is 1 star.
So 1 star, Jared.
Yeah.
1 star film. It's disappointing that we had to spend an hour and 50 minutes plus waiting time plus traffic time.
Look, if you're a collector of American-made spy thrillers and your set is missing The November Man, by all means go out and collect that. Get that, catch them all. For anyone else, don't bother. Not even worth it. I wouldn't even say watch it on cable when it's on. This is a nothing film
Flip by
with
it.
nothing to offer. It exists, and that is about all I can say about it.
And you said plenty. Jared, tell our fans, tell our watchers, tell our viewers, tell our listeners how they can contact us and talk to us.
You can like, comment, and subscribe. All those buttons are right down there in the YouTube bar. And if you're listening at home, hey, thanks for subscribing.
Exactly. So for Jared, I am Shane. This has been the Scope movie review. We'll get more movies to you as soon as we possibly can.
It's the end of summer.
End of summer. Bye for now.
So long, suckers.
Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves once again at the end. I hope you've enjoyed our time together. I know I have. Fear not, Scope faithful. The days shall pass as if they were but a moment, and Jared, Adam, and Shane will return with another thrilling episode. Until then, send your comments to comments@thescopeshow.com or leave a voicemail message by dialing
612-21-SCOPE. That's 612-217-2673.
Thanks for listening, faithful fans. This is Tony Partington saying arrivederci. Tune in next time to another terrific edition of The Scope.